Afshin, everyone, and welcome to The Economites, where we have candid conversations on critical issues. My name is Nkomo, and today's episode is a special one, not only because it's our first episode, but we're speaking to a special guest in the form of Owen. Now, Owen is the founder and the chief executive officer of the Inkuzi Wealth Group. But prior to building his business, he did time at Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan Chase, and the Citigroup. Our conversation today will be premised on the title, Are Financial Markets Just a Game for the Rich or Something More? But our conversation will not only be limited to that, we'll also speak about his entrepreneurial journey, and also we'll gauge his thoughts on the financial markets in the current COVID-19 era. Do enjoy. Good day, Owen. How are you doing?
I'm great, my brother. How are you doing?
No, I'm good, my man. Let's jump straight into it. So at this moment, we know that it's very difficult times, physically and also in the financial markets. Can you tell me how are you navigating through all of that? And especially for you, because you're not only a market participant, but you're also a CEO. So you manage people at the same time, staff.
I try. So these are rough times, Nico. So we have to find a perfect balance all the time, and it's not always easy, especially when you've been thrown into an environment that has not been seen before, where the rest of the world has closed down because of an invisible enemy, which is doing some seriously visible damage to global economies. So we are trying our best by making sure that we stick to our motto, which we use every time when we talk to clients, which is I will hold your hand. We are nursing our clients. We are holding them along these difficult times. We engage them. We make sure that they are calm. They don't panic and start selling out on their investments, or selling out of their investments before, we really see where this thing is taking us. And I think, we have a long-term view in the business where our investments are long-term views, or rather are long-term structured for the long term. And most of our clients, in fact, all of our clients understand that when we put an investment in place, we're not talking about a 1 to 2 year frame. We're talking about a longer term horizon. And obviously, as a leader of the business, my job is to make sure that my colleagues are also, calm. They understand that the storm is going to pass. It's, it's just a phase in our life, which unfortunately we have to deal with. Generations and generations get thrust with the most difficult challenges out there. Early 1900 guys had to deal with the First World War. In the middle of the century, it was the Second World War. We've seen epidemics come through over the past few centuries, and I think our generation has been thrust with the challenge of dealing with COVID-19 is our generational challenge. So we have to make sure that our colleagues are calm and they understand that this is also a passing phase, which has happened in the past as well.
No, I hear you. And you mentioned something quite important. You mentioned how you are long-term focused. And that's really profound, because in any given circumstance, it doesn't have to be in the middle of a pandemic. We are seeing more clients and more participants who are becoming more short-term based. So how do you communicate to clients, to investors that, yes, the short term should not be disregarded altogether, but it's really the long term where the wealth is generated?
Yes. No, look, Nico, it's very simple. You have to make sure people understand the difference between the two.
Yeah.
If you're investing for the short term, I'm hoping you're not investing to make money quickly out of the investment. But if you are investing for the long term, then you are in it to build wealth. The short-term investors obviously pose a lot of risk because the markets remain very volatile.
Yes.
And most people don't understand the volatility that is happening at the moment in terms of where comes from and how it should necessarily be managed. And I think that's the most important part of what we have to do on a daily basis, educate customers. And in fact, if you came to a business with R1 million and you told us you wanted to make money in 2 weeks, we can do that, but we definitely shy away from doing so because, the high level of uncertainty when it comes to being able to deliver that. So much can happen in the space of a day or a week, Nico. So we prefer the longer term, moderate growth kind of investments where our customers can sleep well at night and where our cell phones can be quiet as well now and again, because when the market is so hectic, people are always calling you, trying to find out if, they are still okay, if they're going to have money next month because, they are not used to this kind of aggressive volatility.
No, I hear you, Owen. I hear you, Owen. So shifting gears now, just to the topic, to the conceptual topic of
Yeah.
financial markets. It's quite easy to see that you've made a remarkable career from financial markets. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is that whenever I talk to people, I try to talk to people about financial markets, they disengage.
Yeah.
They become despondent, thinking that this is only something for the rich. Now, based on our
Mm.
conversation, do you reckon that financial markets is simply a game for the rich to get richer, or is it something more?
Look, I mean, I think there's a bit of truth in that, in the sense that if you're going to make exorbitant returns, you have to be sitting on a lot of capital. We've seen that happen with guys who are sitting on billions of rands. Every time the market dips, they're the first ones to go in and take advantage of those low levels and loading up on equities or bonds or whatever instruments they want to invest in.
Yeah.
But I really think that it's not totally true that people cannot participate with smaller amounts. In our business, you can with 500 rands a month invest, and some guys can provide you a solution for even 300 rands a month. I do believe that we are, all of us, already participating in the financial markets. When you're buying a house, you're buying a property, you're playing in the property market. When you are investing in your retirement annuity or investing in a new trust, you are already investing in the stock market. You're buying shares right there. You might be buying them indirectly through an asset manager or through a company like us, but you're already involved in markets. And I think it's something that people need to understand. So we are already participating, and I believe that with more knowledge, people will understand that this is not a preserve of the elite. And in fact, I think that this is why our company was started, to make sure that everyone gets access to participate in the stock markets, both locally and offshore, and also gets good quality advice from our business.
No, fantastic. I know that definitely resonates with me, because that's one of the reasons why my business partner and I decided to start the Economites. It's for that education factor, just to enable people to understand that already they are participating in the financial markets. But shifting gears a little bit more now, financial markets, that's just something else. Now, financial markets, if you mix it with COVID-19, we've seen some crazy things, Owen. We've seen the price of oil. We've seen the price of oil go below zero. How does price go below zero? I thought zero is the absolute floor. That's the limit.
Absolute low.
How did that happen?
Look, so that's what we call tail end risk that people do not always think is going to happen.
Yeah.
When people come to us and they say, listen, can I lose all my money? In our business, we say, you know what? There's a chance that you can lose all your money. Why? Because you've invested in, for example, a unit trust with 20 shares. If I could use the Coronation Top 20 fund, you've invested in 20 of the best ideas coming out of Coronation, which you also invest in. So if you give us 1 million rands, can your 1 million rands become zero at some point? The chances are yes, it can be. And when can that be the case? If the world comes to an end, if all of those companies go bankrupt at the same time, then you have zero in your investment. But Nico, what are the chances of that happening? But in a case like the oil market, where you're dealing with future contracts, so futures contracts, it's an agreement to buy and accept delivery of a contract or rather of a certain commodity or financial security commitment. You have to then accept the physical stuff. Otherwise, if you're opting not to accept the physical stuff because you're not using it, you're just speculating in the market. You're saying, I'm going to buy oil at 80. I think in 3 months it's going to be $35, and I will have made $5 minus the trading cost as my profit. But unfortunately, what happened this time is you can only be confident that you can sell it on. You can sell the product on if there's a buyer on the other end. But this time around with the West Texas instrument, please, not the Brent crude oil instrument, the West Texas instrument, there was no buyers inside. There was an oversupply of oil. And, these guys who were selling this oil, who were supposed to deliver it to the people that bought the contract, were sitting there with no storage space anymore, because they needed to get more of the supply for the next contract. So they ran out of storage space, and they had to start paying exorbitant amounts of money for the storage space. So now you're at zero, but you're paying for rent, and you go for these big ships, that the cargo carriers and things like that the guys in the oil space use to store the oil that they need to sell on. Now you don't have that space. What do? You are stuck and you are paying something that someone else should have taken receipt of. Now you're even paying their rent for keeping those things. And there's interest costs being incurred. So in our calculations in the models, then the number therefore is a negative number. But as you saw, it lasted until the actual day of expiry of the contract. And the next day, the instrument started rallying again.
No, fantastic. Thank you for that explanation. It was quite
we
clear.
have to look smart as well. We have to look smart.
Yeah.
That's why we designed this thing.
No, fantastic, Owen. I think your explanation was top notch. Moving on to something else which we've seen happen in this COVID-19 era. We saw our Reserve Bank, our central bank, cut rates 3 times. Not only that, we also saw them actually go into the market to buy bonds. Now, whether you want to call that QE or not, doesn't matter. But what are your thoughts, first of all, on the bond buying and then on the rates? We saw, was it 2 days ago? They announced the 3rd cut in the 3rd month. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, no, I think it's a great move. We need the economy to have a level of cushion. It's the worst we have experienced, at least in my lifetime. I haven't gone through something like this before, where growth in GDP is expected to grow in double digits, at least the lower double digits, you're 10% odd. We have seen, production numbers globally coming off. America has laid off over 30 million people, and our own numbers certainly will look very, very bad in the next few months when we look in retrospect to the period that we're sitting at home right now. I think unemployment is going to go above 30%, and companies don't have confidence that things are going to be okay. Their targets are being revised lower. We've also been doing on internal exercises and we revised our numbers lower. So you need the company to basically, or rather the country to be in an environment where interest rates are affordable for businesses to go and borrow money so that we can at least carry on and, meet our debt liabilities at a lower cost. We can go out and borrow money at a lower cost. The government can do the same as well. We've been downgraded, Nico. You would have thought that interest rates go up, but we are a very lucky country. Interest rates have actually gone down, which is great. And the Reserve Bank going into the market to buy bonds is good as well, because the interest rate curve has actually now moved in the favor of the men in the streets and the rest of the country. So we need an accommodative interest rate environment. And I congratulate Mr. Khanyago and his team of deputy governors and the rest of the guys there for being very proactive. And I hope that they'll stay the course and put this money into the economy to work. A lot of small businesses are going to have to fold. And if there's anything we can do to avoid that from happening, I think we should do that. So well done to the Reserve Bank.
No, fantastic. I've been applauding them since this crisis started. And I know I always say that for all the issues that we had as a country, financial markets, having an independent Reserve Bank, competent monetary policy setters, we don't suffer from that problem, don't we?
No, we don't. I think our guys are great. All the ministers of finance have been great over the past few years, with some exceptions.
Let's not mention any names.
No names. And then you had great Reserve Bank central governors, Jill Marcus, Tito Mboweni, who's back on the deck, or rather, who's now Minister of Finance, but you've got now Babu Khanyago, who's also doing an amazing job there. And I think that the guys, they know what the country needs. I just wish that the picture will work in a more coordinated picture where the central bank, the Minister of Finance, the unions, government, private sector, and the men in the street. I wish we all knew that there's only one winner if we work together, and this is South Africa Inc. That's what needs to happen for us to be able to deal with these challenges of the COVID virus.
No, fantastic, Owen, fantastic. Now, you have an honors degree in investment management. I can't help myself but to ask, when was that first love? When did it happen for you? When you
in the financial markets?
Yes.
Many years ago, when I watched Boiler Room, and I thought, wow, this is me. Intensity, I like it. And it's intensity, and you're making money as well. So that was really great. And the reason that people play in the stock markets, there's a good reasons, which is let's create capital markets where we can push money out and grow economies and make sure that projects can be funded and make sure that entrepreneurs get funding. And then there's the other side, which is the excitement part of it. And I think for me, I got into the market looking for the excitement because after watching Boiler Room, I thought that that's the life that is lived by people who play in the markets. But it's obviously, that was just Hollywood selling me. That's Hollywood selling me a story, which I think to an extent I don't regret. To a large extent, I don't regret playing in the markets. It has been great. I've learned a lot. I've had access to a lot of amazing information. I've made great networks, and I think it is useful for our business right now that I went through the journey I've gone through in the stock markets. It's still really exciting because every day comes with a new challenge. You have to deal with new challenges. You're dealing with Steinhoff, you're dealing with African Bank, you're dealing with all these other things. And there's never a dull day in the markets. And I think that's the life I prefer. I wouldn't change it for anything.
No, fantastic. And as mentioned in the intro, that you did time in corporate before you built your own business, which is now Inkuzi Wealth Group. Do you miss it? Do you miss the corporate life, or are you okay being your own boss?
No, look, I think it gets to a point where you do so much of corporate 9 to 5 suit and tie, which is but you're just not changing the world. You're just not impacting people's lives. Right now, I'm touching lots of lives, through the business, through my partners in the business, through my colleagues. We're helping people learn how to invest. We're helping preserve their retirement. We're shaping the future of South Africa as well. So I think I am adding value, and I wouldn't change it for anything. It was great sitting on the desk and making money for myself and my family, Nico. Quite a lot of cash it was. Sometimes I look back and I wish I had that kind of salary today. But we have to play the long game and say, down the line, hopefully, our business is big enough and we replace the historic salaries with dividends. Sure. But what's important, Nico, in my view, is you must leave and say what you have learned in the past, bring it into a position where it changes people's lives, it changes the economy potentially, it educates other people, it gives people a reference point to say, if we could do this, then so too could we do it. We can walk this journey through corporates, whether we're in mining or wherever we are, then we can set up companies and employ people. And you know what? Our company has actually been responsible for 4 or 5 companies that got born from people who were working in our company. Wow. So reach is really great, and I'm wanting to continue to have that kind of impact in the community that I live in and for our country. And I think all entrepreneurs should definitely be supported, particularly smaller entrepreneurs. So I would not go back to corporate if you paid me a lot of cash, because I think what we're doing here is less selfish and it's creating a more sustainable platform for people to get access to information.
Now, just to take you back, Owen, JFK once said when he was speaking to his people that we choose to go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Now, it seems like that resonates with you, because after you've started Nkuzi, you worked on something very, very difficult, and that is tackling the problem of student accommodation. Now, in 2018, you embarked on a mission to raise 250 million rand through IPO. All in the aim to basically finance 20,000 beds over a period of 15 to 20 years. Can you please tell us about that? And when did that passion of solving difficult problems come into it?
So you know what? I mean, it's very simple. You sit there and you say, I've worked so hard in investment banks. I know how capital is transmitted and I know where the capital is going. And then you say, here's the problem. What is the problem? Students don't have places to stay and the government is responsible for providing. But there is private capital that's available to play in the student accommodation market. So let's try and mobilize that private capital. And I went and I had, a solid team of guys who worked with me back in 2016. And managed to raise 1.4 billion odd rands for a portfolio that we were going to list on the JSE. I had Kamel Kishav coming from Rebosses, and I had Peter Scholes coming from Action Property Fund, and I had as well Max Mechanic, who was coming from Arrowhead Properties. So we had a solid property team that was going to manage this entity. But unfortunately, after raising the cash that we wanted to raise, the property market collapsed in 2018. In the first month of 2018, collapsed by north of 30%. So it's a matter of timing. We've been fighting for 3 years to list the company, and when we get the approval to list, then the market collapses. But as you know, when you go, we did not give up, and giving up is not part of our entrepreneurial DNA. You need to keep trying to find an angle to do it. So that's when we decided to play a 250 million rand capital raise, which we just completed this year. And we're in the process of deploying that capital right now into 2 buildings that we want to buy that will accommodate students. And we'll grow again from that base. And I believe, given the appetites I've seen in both corporate and pension fund spaces and the man in the street to be invested in property, that is specialist property. I think we're going to do well in the long run.
Yeah.
And the trick is always to think about these things from the long run. And, you can't, there's no use crying, Nico. We say in Zulu, Nembuza wishes ukhala. It's not going to help you to cry because no one cares. You need to keep fighting, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done with the recent capital raise and the deployment of this capital right now, in my view, is testament to the fact that if you're patient and you have the right family support, my wife has been great, my son has been great through this process, and I think without them, I'd have gone insane, Nico. I'd probably be taking drugs right now. So you need to have the right support. You need to have the right support in order to fulfill these dreams and these plans. Yeah.
No, fantastic, Owen. So before all this COVID madness started, what did you do when you were not working?
When
How did you relax? How did you relax? How did you?
When do I relax? When do I have time to not work, Nico? I only don't work when I'm sleeping, because I've managed to convince my family as well that, guys, must always be doing something. My wife is in business as well, and my son is learning a few tricks. So we're almost always, even when we're relaxing, we're trying to figure out what the next problem is that we can solve. And it's very important. Without that family support base, I think it's going to be very difficult to play in the space. But when I'm not at work, now and again, I'm watching football, Chelsea in the UK, Orlando Pirates here in South Africa.
Unfortunately,
I think the season must just be closed. Let's close the season. We'll try next year. Amakosi are strong. They will understand. And so too will Sundowns. So let's start again next year. Keeping people alive is more important, Nico.
No, you can't keep that argument here. Okay, let's keep football aside. Me, as a Kaizer Chiefs supporter, definitely I would like it to continue. But then again, you're right. Safety does come first.
Yes.
So tell me, Owen, the first place that you're going to go to when the travel restrictions are loosened, where are you going to go?
Look, I think from a business perspective, one would like to obviously go and see what's going on in our KZN office.
Yes.
You see family there as well. But in terms of traveling out of the country, I would like to go back to Zanzibar. It's an amazing place. I love going there. I travel Africa mostly. Yeah. I'm not going to take my money and give it to the Italians and the Germans and the Americans and Disney and Vegas and stuff like that. I think, there's so many nice places on the continent to visit. And I would really, really want to explore quite a lot of Africa and maybe do Vietnam. We're planning to do that with my wife, but the budget is obviously being redirected. Thank you, COVID, for messing things up for us. But I think, definitely Zanzibar. It's a more affordable place to go to. The flights are cheaper, and I think the hotels as well, they are affordable. But when I'm in Zanzibar, we'll actually to stay at the Melia Zanzibar Hotel. You must try that when you are there, man. It's a beautiful hotel.
Thank you so much, Owen. Thank you for joining us in today's episode of The Economites. We salute the effort that you're putting in as a Black entrepreneur and as a torchbearer in the financial markets. Thank you so much.
Nico, thank you so much, my brother. Thank you and good luck. I know this is your first episode. I hope that the rest will be amazing. Let's tell the good stories. Down with the negative energy on Twitterville. Black people are doing amazing things out there, and I think let's keep fighting the good cause and adding value to the economy.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.